Confused about how to plan for your retirement? Sean Maloney is here to help. Sean has created the Retire Happy framework that considers more than just how much you should save. Getting information and tools to preserve your financial future is minutes away. Welcome to the Priority of Retirement with your host, Sean Maloney.
Welcome to another episode of the Priority of Retirement, where we delve into all the aspects of retirement planning for a happy retirement. I'm your host, Sean Maloney, and today we have a special guest on who's been a significant player in the health insurance and Medicare industry for about 20 years. Kevin Heath is the founder of MTD Benefits, a company dedicated to educating and guiding clients through the complexities of health insurance and Medicare. With a background working for large carriers like Humana and Aflac, Kevin brings a wealth of knowledge to a client-first approach to the table. So join us as we discuss some changes in Medicare, retirement, healthcare concerns, and how MTD Benefits is making a difference. So Kevin, man, I appreciate you coming on today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Perfect. Well, man, I know we've sent some people your way and we've enjoyed working with you. You've helped me out personally a few times. So you're a vast of knowledge, and we deeply appreciate your help and appreciate your knowledge in this arena as well. So tell us a little bit about yourself. So you've been in the health career, for over 20 years or so, dealing with different private healthcare, Medicare industry, those kind of things. So what inspired you to leave that large carrier side of things and start your own agency?
Well, like many people that get into the insurance world, have you ever talked to those that do it? A lot of them, if you ask how you got in it, it's usually, hey, someone told them, hey, I got a great opportunity for you. All you got to do is get licensed and do this testing and everything else, and then here you go. So, I mean, I got 20 years ago, I got approached like that, and I was not happy where I was. So I took that opportunity and I got licensed and went with a carrier then, which was Aflac. And they were a great carrier. And Aflac is a lot of their business model where I was knocking on doors. So we knocked on doors and talked to business owners and everything then. Then I went on and worked for Humana and some other carriers and larger agencies. All the while I was learning a lot, which was important, right, in the insurance industry, but also all the while I was learning that I loved doing what I was doing, but I wasn't really fulfilling what I wanted, which was I wanted the ability to be able to help people with exactly what they needed. And if you work for one carrier, you have great products with that carrier, but not every product fits every individual with that carrier. So I always had a vision that I have a better way. I know a better way to do this. And that was where that vision came into play. And we opened up our own agency, MTD Benefits, and created that vision. And it's been working very well ever since. So
that's fantastic. And I know, when we talk to our clients, and even when we do different seminars and webinars and all these different kind of things, and we tell people, look, you got to get the right advice when it comes to healthcare. And healthcare in retirement is a critical path because the average American spends over $325,000 in healthcare, not to mention long-term care and whatnot in retirement. So getting the right plans, navigating the right personal, private plans beforehand as you lead up to retirement, and then certainly Medicare. After you get there, it's important to know. And one thing we love about you is that just like we like to educate our clients, we've seen you do it as well. And as far as guiding and educating, your clients as well. So how's that from working with a benefit company like yourself, that's more of a broker? How's that different than, or how are you different than working with other agencies in that sense?
Great question. So am I different than every agency? Maybe not, right? But we do feel we are different in many ways. And why do we feel we're different is our main mission is to educate and guide. We're going to literally tell you if you're better off where you're at or with what you have, even if it means we can't garner you as a client. All we ask in return is if you know someone that could use our services, you let them know, and that's where we gain a lot of referrals from that.
That makes
But
sense.
we've had many people tell us this is, just the other day I had a client who I told him, I said, this is better for your son to do this, to go with path A than it is with path B with us. And she goes, this is such a refreshing thing because most people won't tell you what's better, that you're better off with something else that's not them.
Right.
In this case, it was a student health plan, whatever. But
Yeah.
we'll guide them in that and educate. And that just goes with our core beliefs here as a company and what we want to do. And that's where we feel we're truly different. The other difference is in anything health insurance today, whether it be Medicare or what we call under 65, like non-Medicare plans,
Right.
there's a lot of misinformation. Misinformation is all over the place. You can look up right now on YouTube and find tons of videos, and a lot of them will be misinformed.
Yeah.
And what we always tell everybody, we're like, hey, look, don't even believe us. If you question something that we tell you, please let us know, because we're going to show you where we can back that information up that we're giving you.
Right.
If someone's telling you something, they better be able to back it up.
100%.
That's again a core belief for us. If we're going to educate, we're going to make sure we're going to educate on the correct information, not the incorrect information. Even though saying that, embellishing it a little may make it sound better and more enticing for someone, it doesn't make it correct. So that's why we don't do it.
I love that, because you truly have, the best interest of the client at heart. And I'm a firm believer in what you just said as well, as far as educating clients. They got to understand what they're getting into and how it works. One, for their peace of mind and their overall understanding of it. It just makes life a lot better if you know what you're getting into. So I appreciate
Right.
you do that.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
you deal with Medicare as well, and I know, some people listening to this, a lot of people have questions and don't really understand Medicare, right? And I know we don't have the time to go into in-depth Medicare. Certainly hit Keith up, or Kevin up if you have a chance. But for those that are listening, kind of run through a high level of what the different parts of Medicare are, including the supplements.
Sure. That's a great thing to cover, because we are coming into the end of the year where
Right.
a lot of that starts becoming main topic, right? Our busiest time is the end of the year. The fourth quarter of the year is literally our busiest time. I tell people I probably work close to 80 hours a week that time of year. They laugh, and I'm like, no, I'm serious. It's cramming everything in at the end. It's always fun, right?
Oh,
But no, Medicare has four main parts, okay? And those parts are A, B, C, and D, just like the alphabet, right?
yeah.
But parts A and B of Medicare were the original parts of Medicare that Medicare actually administers. And parts A and B, A is called hospital, B is called medical.
Mhm.
Okay. That's what Medicare calls it. Now, when we talk to people, we tell them part A is really, think of part A as inpatient, meaning you're admitted to the hospital, because so many things we do today at the hospital are done as an outpatient. ER visits, outpatient surgery, testing, all that falls under part B.
Okay.
Okay, not part A. So when we think of part A, you want to think about inpatient, but it is called hospital when you look at it with Medicare.
Right.
Part B is called medical. But if we call one inpatient, what do you think we call the other one? We call the other one outpatient. So we call
Right.
part B outpatient, because part B handles all the doctor visits and testing and lab work and preventative care and all those things that we do mostly on a day-to-day basis in our healthcare journey. So those are the original parts of Medicare. It started in the 60s. Okay.
Okay.
Part C originated in the 90s, and that's called Medicare Advantage. Okay.
Gotcha.
And then part D is the most recent part of Medicare. It started in 2006, and that's prescription drug. D like drug. Okay. So where the part A and B can be administered and run by Medicare, parts C and D are what we call privatized parts of Medicare. The reason we do that is Medicare sets the rules, the regulations, and the guidelines for those plans, but they contract private insurance companies to administer those benefits.
Gotcha.
Okay. So for instance, Part D, which was originally 2006, with Part D, Medicare says, we want to offer prescription drug coverage to our beneficiaries. We're going to set all the rules, but we're not going to actually administer those benefits. We're going to contract private insurance companies to do that. So that means that someone that's on A and B is not automatically enrolled into a Part D plan. They have to go seek out that and find that coverage, or else they won't have it. Then, that's kind of the high level overview of the 4 parts of Medicare. But you also mentioned like supplements. Well, a Medicare supplement, also called Medigap, that's, if you hear those 2 words, Medicare Supplement, Medigap, it's one and the same thing. Okay. That's a secondary insurance to Medicare. It works just truly like a secondary insurance. Medicare is still paying the claims on the A and B, and the supplement or Medigap plan comes in and picks up the deductibles or coinsurance that traditional Medicare has, so that you have less out of pocket. Because one of the big misnomers out there is we pay into this Medicare tax all our life, and we think it's going to pay for everything when we get 65.
Right.
It's not the case.
Right.
It doesn't pay for everything. There's deductibles. This year, the deductible the first day you're admitted to the hospital is $1,632.
Wow.
The deductible under Part B is $240. Then Part B pays 80%, you pay 20%. Plus Medicare has no cap, meaning there's no limit to how much you have to pay when you're on Medicare, if you have just Medicare.
So the supplements can really benefit, kind of come in. And I've seen that personally with, not only family, but clients and whatnot as well, where the supplements have really helped ease while you pay for the supplements, sure, there's a premium for that. But as we get into all those, increased healthcare as we get older, I've just seen it save people over and over again, as far as the cost. I mean, it's the cost of the healthcare versus the cost of the premium, because we've seen it time and time again where healthcare can just wipe out someone's nest egg, right? And the supplements have come in and really helped it. I mean, hopefully you don't have to use them, but great if they're there. I've just seen supplements be pretty powerful. That's my 2 cents.
No, it's true. It's very true. So we like to talk about positives and negatives in anything we discuss with people. Okay, because everything in life, when we're looking at purchasing anything, if I'm a consumer, when I leave my job, right, I go home and I have to buy a car or a house or a TV or whatever the purchase may be that day, everything has positives and negatives. The positives may be, hey, this is lower cost. The negative may be it's a little cheaper made and may not last as long or whatever, right?
Right.
Or whatever, it may not have the features the other one has or something. But you get the idea. Everything has positive and negative. But we round that into Medicare as well for folks. So when we're talking about supplements, the main positives with supplements is, one, like you said, it's very comprehensive coverage. Why do we say that? Well, so if you have a certain supplement plan, say a plan G, which we're not getting into all the letters and everything of supplements at this point.
Sure.
But if you have a certain supplement plan, like a plan G that people can get that turn 65 today, they could have all the deductibles and coinsurance and Medicare picked up besides the Part B deductible. So if you have A and B plus a plan G supplement, the only out-of-pocket medical cost you'd have is $240 this year. That's your Part B deductible. It's the only out-of-pocket medical cost you'd have. So that's very comprehensive. Yeah. Most people's out-of-pocket's a lot higher than that on their insurance now, right? Before they go on Medicare. Sure. But the biggest positive that we talk about is freedom of choice. Why do we say that? Because with most supplements, you can go to any doctor, any hospital, anywhere, as long as they take Medicare. Because Medicare is paying primary, the supplement's paying secondarily. So it doesn't matter if you heard that Piedmont's having a contract dispute with whoever, or Wellstar's having a contract dispute with whoever. It doesn't matter if you have them, because it's a secondary insurance to Medicare, because that means Medicare is paying. As long as they take Medicare, there's no issues.
No, that's good to know.
So that's a huge piece on the freedom of choice. Now, to wrap to that, and sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, all good.
Part C that we talked about, which is Medicare Advantage, is the other route a lot of people go. Okay. Part C is, again, a privatized part of Medicare, where they are private insurance companies that go to Medicare and say, hey, you guys do a good job. We think we can do it better. Sounds about like what an insurance company would say. Subsidize us and will administer the benefits.
Gotcha.
So you have to have A and B of Medicare to be eligible for an Advantage plan. Okay. So you can't, just because you get an Advantage plan doesn't mean you don't have the Part B.
Right.
But you have to have A and B to be eligible for Medicare Advantage. But when you choose a Medicare Advantage, Medicare is no longer administering those bills, the private insurance company is.
Gotcha.
Okay. So positives are, though, because they're subsidized by Medicare, they can offer a low or no monthly plan premium. Okay.
Sure.
They can also offer a Part D drug plan included in the plan where a supplement cannot.
Gotcha.
They can also offer additional benefits like dental and vision and things like this. This is where a lot of people get attracted to these plans, right?
Sure, sure.
But what are my negatives to that? Well, my negatives are, now I have a co-payment or co-insurance anytime I go to the doctor, because that's how they build their plans, more like a traditional insurance plan we're used to.
Yep.
Okay. Now I have a network of doctors, though. That network could be an HMO, health maintenance organization, or it could be a PPO, preferred provider organization. But either way, I got to make sure my doctors work with the plan that I go with.
Sure.
Okay. And the last piece, and it goes back to the positive of a supplement where I say freedom of choice. The last piece with an Advantage plan is the insurance company's paying the bill, so the insurance company can dictate what you have done.
Ah,
What do we mean by that? We mean, if you ever heard the word authorizations.
right.
Hey, you need to go have this surgery, Sean. You got to go get this. Well, you have to get this authorized through your insurance company.
Sure.
Okay. We're all used to this because we're all in insurance world right now. We all have insurance companies pretty much prior to going on Medicare. Okay.
Yeah.
But the difference is once you're eligible for Medicare, you have another choice. Because Medicare A and B administered by Medicare for the vast majority is based on medical necessity. Why do I say for the vast majority? Because Medicare started authorizing a few things in the Medicare program, but a lot of it's not.
Right.
So we talk about that because we want people to know truly the positives and negatives of every option they go with. I know it's a lot that we just covered just now, but I want to make sure I touch base on that for you.
No, that's fantastic. No, you did a great job on that. I appreciate that. So really, I mean, it sounds like, you have Part C, or you can go do the supplement. It's really it sounds like a matter of preference of how you want to navigate through your insurance, what you're comfortable with, what you're used to. And I mean, based on everything you just said, it's like, all right, you got to sit down and you can help them figure out based on their preferences, what's the best route to go, right? Because some people
Right.
might like the positives on one and some people might like the positives on the other, right? Whatever they're
right. Exactly.
So yeah,
Or
good
maybe
point. They both have their pros and cons.
right. And maybe the cons outweigh the positives of the other, and you decide to go with the one because you don't want the cons. Whatever. It's, I'm sure in the financial side, you're talking about pros and cons and things too. And, what's
100%.
your risk level and everything else. And it's kind
Right.
of similar here. What's their risk level? How much do they want to risk when they,
Yep. Yep.
when they're there?
And so I think a lot of people know, but just for those that may not know, as far as the filing requirements for Medicare, obviously there's a time frame and requirements as far as when and how you
Yeah.
do that. If you want to touch on that real quick.
Great question. And I like this one. Remember earlier I mentioned misinformation, right?
Yep.
Some of this misinformation out there is you start getting advertisements up to a year before you turn 65 in your mailbox. Okay.
Yep.
And as you get those 6 months, they really start hounding you. And a lot of these companies want to enroll you because they feel like the first one in wins.
Right.
Okay. So supplements, technically, you can have a supplement and enroll into a supplement up to 6 months before your birth month of 65. Okay.
Right.
But you cannot apply for Medicare until 3 months before your eligibility month. Your eligibility month is the month you turn 65, or if your birth date is on the first of the month, it's the month previous.
Gotcha.
Okay. And no matter what date your birthday is in the month, other than the first. So if my birthday, for instance, is the 8th, then my effective date for my Medicare will be the first of that month.
Gotcha.
Okay. So you can apply. So for instance, my birthday is September 8th. So if my birthday is September 8th, that means I can apply August, I can apply July and June. So June, July, August are the 3 months before September.
Yep.
That's when I could start applying as early as June 1st.
Gotcha.
If you
So
try to apply for
is it,
Medicare earlier than that, they will shoot you down.
gotcha. Now, is it true that if you don't file when you're 65, that there's like penalties and fees associated with it?
Correct. There can be penalties and fees. So there's a lot of moving parts in this, and this is why we like to educate people at least 6 months before they turn 65, if not a year before they turn 65. And it's
Sure.
because of things like this. So if you're still actively working and your company has 20 employees or more, then you are on a credible health plan to Medicare's standards, then you would be allowed to just continue working, and you don't have to apply for Medicare, and you can just not apply for Medicare at all, or apply for, say, just Part A, because Part A, as long as you work 40 quarters in your lifetime, has no cost to you. You've already paid for it. It's no cost now. You've already paid, right? It did cost you. You just paid in those taxes all those years. That's why it doesn't cost you now.
You prepaid.
But right. So, there's no cost then. So a lot of times it makes sense to do that. Where it doesn't make sense to do that is if you have a health savings account or HSA health plan and actively contribute to an HSA, then you don't want to apply for Part A, because once you're on Medicare, you can't actively contribute to an HSA anymore.
Okay, that makes sense. Good trick.
So a lot of this is just, like I said, it's a lot of moving parts.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
then we get, well, I don't know if my employer has 20 active employees on the health coverage. Well, then we've got to figure that out, because if they don't, if you have under 20 employees on the active employees on the health plan for your group insurance, then your group insurance becomes secondary to Medicare, and you have to enroll in the Part A and Part B.
Gotcha.
So if you don't have that credible coverage for Part B and you don't enroll in Part B, you will be penalized 10% per year every year you didn't enroll in Part B.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Yeah, I mean, and a lot of people always wonder, and I know you can't answer this question because it's not a blanket statement necessarily, but people always wonder about you talked about the cost of Medicare, right? And the Part A being covered because you paid into it, but obviously they're going to have to pay for the other things that they sign up for and the supplements and a lot of that. And I know parts of that are income based. Is there anything that customers or people out there should be aware of? But I mean, obviously it's going to be different for everybody. What's the general way to approach the cost there?
Good question. And I touched base a little bit on that on the Part A, where if you work 40 quarters, and that sounds daunting, think 40 quarters is 10 years. You work 10 years and paid into the Social Security and FICA tax, Medicare tax, Social Security tax, all this stuff that you pay out of your paycheck typically.
Yeah.
As long as you paid in those taxes and worked 10 years doing that, then your Part A is paid for as far as the government eyes now, and you don't pay anything for Part A. Okay. Part B is paid partially through those payroll taxes. The other part, though, the vast larger part of Medicare Part B premium is set by Medicare each year. In 2024, that premium is $174.70 is the baseline premium. Gotcha. Most people pay that premium, but there is what's called IRMA.
Yeah.
IRMA stands for Income Related Monthly Adjustment Amount. And this states that in 2024, if you make over 103,000 and file taxes as a single person, or over 206,000 and file taxes as a married couple or jointly, then you'll be assessed an IRMA. They're saying, hey, you're doing better. We're going to charge you more for Part B and Part D drug coverage. Okay. And it's a sliding scale. And this is where it's important for us to educate folks, because it can be It can jump quickly, and
Sure.
it can be a lot more expensive than what the 174.70 is. And a lot of people go, "Oh, I'm not making 206. I retired." That's great, but we got to remember IRMA is how did they get that data for IRMA? They look at taxes. Okay, they look at IRS data. Well, guess what IRS data they're looking at today as we sit in 2024 in the 8th month of the year right now, right?
Yep.
They're still looking at 2022 data.
Okay.
Because if I filed an extension this year, I have till October 15th to file my taxes. So they don't look at 2023 data until everybody's filed.
Gotcha.
Okay?
Now, does that change for everybody every year? It's like it gets reevaluated based on
Correct.
past year's filings.
And the biggest thing is you can appeal it as well. So if they're looking at 2022 data and you're actively working, your income is much higher than say now in 2024, because I retired and my income is much lower, I can appeal that with them and say, hey, look, my income's much lower today. This is what's going on. And we have many clients that win their appeals.
Yeah.
The downside is you can't be forward thinking in this one.
Gotcha.
What do I mean by that? I'm a very forward thinking person. I want to get out ahead of things, right? So if I know my income in that date that they're looking at is going to be higher, but I want to go ahead and send in my appeal paperwork now, well, they will not let you appeal it until they send you a letter in the mail and say they're assessing it to you. Guess what happens when they assess it to you? You're paying it. You're paying it till that appeal goes through. They will
Right.
refund back or whatever, but so that's kind of a downside, but it's important that people know that. We guide a lot
Yeah.
of people on the IRMA because there is a lot of different levels and different things like that.
Yeah. No, it's stuff to be aware of. I want to wrap up with one last question for you here.
Yeah.
You mentioned that we're going into the Medicare phase of things this year. You're about to get crazy busy.
Yeah.
Is there any, and I know there may be a ton of them, but is there any significant changes to Medicare coming into this year that you would want people to be aware of?
Huge changes. Huge changes. This year is the final I can't say the word. Implementation, there you go, of the Inflation Reduction Act law that was passed. And in that law, they made huge Part D drug coverage changes. Okay. Part D drug coverage, we didn't get into all the different phases of Part D and all these things. Essentially, the biggest changes starting in 2025, they're capping Medicare beneficiaries out-of-pocket cost on Part D at $2,000.
Oh.
That's huge because we've had people paying a lot more than that out of their pocket for drugs.
Yeah.
There's a lot of expensive drugs out there. The other thing though is we don't know, and it's creating a lot of uncertainty for the carriers. Okay, so we already know potentially, and I don't know for certain anything yet. We don't know anything for certain until October 1st. Okay,
Right.
that's when we can start shopping the plans and discussing benefits for next year.
Sure.
Anything before that, it's all speculation, right?
Yeah.
But we have a feeling that there may be carriers leaving because of this. There may be carriers changing plans, benefits, everything like that, changing formularies, which is a list of drugs covered by the plan. So we implore all our clients every year to reshop their plans every year. And we do that for them as a service. That's one of our services as an organization that we do for our clients.
Right.
Hence why we're also so busy. But we think this year, of any year, is going to be one of the most important years to make sure you reshop your plan for Part D, especially.
Well, that's significant, though. I mean, it's a good point because I think a lot of people get, just like in the private sector, I think people think, well, okay, Medicare is Medicare, and most people don't keep up with all the changes. So, great point that you need to have someone like yourself be, with the knowledge to be able to coach people on, hey, here are the changes. This could be an impact to you, and what does this mean to you and your family?
Yeah.
Well, Kevin, man, it's been a pleasure having you on. You're a wealth of knowledge. I appreciate you. And I think that, one of the key messages here is just like we were planning for retirement ahead of time, let's make sure you take your healthcare. I know everybody takes it seriously, but take the healthcare coverage seriously and plan for it ahead of time. Don't wait till the last minute. Get the right facts in hand and talk to someone like this that can make you have some of the great information and education to make the right choices for you and your family.
Absolutely.
All right, Kevin, it was a pleasure having you on. And it's another episode, y'all. We look forward to having more guests on in the future. Who knows? We may have Kevin back on as the Medicare world gets a little bit crazy. But here's to aligning your future. Y'all have a fantastic day.
Thanks for listening to The Priority of Retirement with Sean Maloney. If you enjoyed the show, check out our reviews on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. For more free resources to help with your retirement journey, go to retirewisepro.com or check the link in the show notes. You can also download a free copy of Sean's book, The Priority of Retirement, or reach out to discuss working with him directly at retirewisepro.com. Thanks for listening.
Insurance products offered through the insurance business RetireWise LLC. RetireWise LLC is also an investment advisory practice that offers products and services through AE Wealth Management LLC, AEWM, a registered investment advisor. AEWM does not offer insurance products. The insurance products offered by RetireWise LLC are not subject to investment advisor requirements. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Any references to protection, safety, or lifetime income generally refer to fixed insurance products, never securities or investments. Insurance guarantees are backed by the financial strength and claims-paying abilities of the insuring carrier. This podcast intended for informational purposes only. It is not intended to be used as the sole basis for financial decisions, nor should it be construed as advice designed to meet the particular needs of an individual's situation. RetireWise LLC is not permitted to offer, and no statement made during the show shall constitute tax or legal advice. Our firm is not affiliated with or endorsed by the U.S. government or any governmental agency. The information and opinions contained herein provided by third parties have been obtained from sources believed to be reliable, but accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed by RetireWise LLC. Guests of the Priority of Retirement are not affiliated with, nor do they endorse Sean Maloney or RetireWise LLC.